Hi, I'm Pete Nurse. I'm the convener of Joomla Day Melbourne 2013, JDM 2013, and I'm very pleased to be introducing today Norm Douglas. He's smart, he's supportive of the community, he's decisive, opinionated, and through J Infinity, he's a sponsor for our conference. Norm, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thanks for coming down to Geelong.
How did you get into the web? What was the educational trajectory for you?
My trajectory into IT and the web was a little bit not as formalised as some people. I like to describe myself as a lifelong nerd who finally found computers full-time in the mid-90s thereabouts. So I'd had a long career in photography and I could see the writing on the wall where it was going digital, so I thought I should learn more about computers, and the moment I started playing with them, the web was just starting to really build in its momentum around 1996 thereabouts, and so it was a logical step for me to start playing with the web, and started playing with the web way back then, and progressed into working full-time in the IT industry, doing network support for a long time, and always had a bit of an interest in HTML, and then the company I was working for needed a website, someone else did, and before you know it, I was making websites.
So you came into it really from the design side?
Yeah, I would say I came into it more so from a tech side. The technical aspect of IT fascinated me from the moment I discovered computers. Whilst I had a Commodore 64, and like all nerds did when we were young, I never really got into it. It was only in my mid-20s that I kind of discovered IT and realised that I had a bit of a bent for it. And so yeah, the design aspect was way secondary. Yeah.
So you decided to get into the web. Was it an early decision to get into open source?
Definitely not. I was a complete Microsoft-centric thinker. I was blessed in the sense that a large organisation I worked for here in Geelong was a large non-for-profit, and they got Microsoft licensing for virtually nothing. So I was exposed to every Microsoft product that you could have, and the thought of even open source never even entered my mind. It was like, that's for uber nerds. I don't even know why they'd bother with it. And then when I went out on my own as an IT support person, and I quickly discovered that Microsoft licensing wasn't free like I thought it was. I had to come up with new ways for my clients and be able to introduce them to new methods. And then the second, how I stumbled upon open source is actually how I stumbled upon Joomla as well. I stumbled upon both at the same time because I was trying to make my own antiquated, at the time, ASP kind of CMS based on ASP. I quickly discovered that PHP had a lot more foundations for it, and upon trying to develop my own CMS using PHP, I discovered Mambo. And Mambo was, of course, the precursor for Joomla, and I quickly, ditched my plans of trying to make my own. Started learning more about the open source community and project in general, and realised that, wow, open source was going to allow me at the time as a professional to deliver better products for my clients, as well as for me personally. I could learn so much more.
How did you select Joomla out of the numerous CMSs that would have been available at that time?
I wish I could remember how I actually made the decision for Joomla, to start using Joomla, or Mambo as it was. I wish I could remember that defining moment, but I would be completely lying to you if I told you precisely how it happened. I can't remember. I would have Googled something, I would have tried to be getting a bit of source code from somewhere, and I would have stumbled upon it somehow. In my professional IT life, I often like to say to people that those of us that are professional IT people and those of us just know lots about computers, is the professionals know how to find the answers to the things they don't already know. And that was one of my strengths, is I was able to find the answer for something I didn't know at the time. I can't remember. I wish there was some, defining moment, little angel singing in the background, but it was none of that. All I did know is that once I discovered Mambo, then I could quickly see that they had it was a brilliant CMS ready to go, and that it was open source. And I quickly started learning all there was to know about open source, and realised at the time that through my one of my skills of being able to utilise other people's methods, I could deliver great results for clients straight away.
I think it's fair to describe you as an open source believer. What are you doing and have you done in the Joomla community?
My belief in open source is 100% now. I can't begin to understand why anyone, any client, any professional would want to tie themselves into a proprietary system or something that's not open. The benefits to not only me as a professional, but then on to my clients, has been profound. I'm able to deliver them really good solutions. And the cost aspect is never the question. It's about me being able to deliver them the best solutions. A really quick example of that, just the other day we had quite a large client who had a decent sized budget, and they need not a CMS, a CRM, a customer resource, client resource management tool. And I'd told them about Sugar CRM, which is a very large, and for their specific needs, for their industry, there was already a fork of this particular Sugar specifically for their needs. And it just proved to me that one of the things I often say to clients about Joomla is that right now, someone in the world, somewhere, is making a component or an extension for your website that you don't even know you need yet.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. That's what open source can deliver, not only professionals but also clients through us, is that we can deliver them solutions for their problems. Because even though we'd all like to think we're wonderful, unique human beings, generally speaking, our needs, someone else has had our needs before. So there's every probability that someone else is already making something now to solve our needs and we don't even know.
What do you do and what have you done in the Joomla community at large?
When I first started using Mambo and Joomla, the community was so important to me. The forum was so important, and it was able to solve a lot of questions for me and problems, and therefore I knew from straight away from an early time that I would have to give back to that community. And so early on I became somewhat of a known personality in the forums. I quickly racked up the forum posts, and I'd like to think I helped lots of people, and conversely, lots of people helped me as well. And then I became involved in the JED, the Joomla Extension Directory. The Joomla Extension Directory is where most people go to find extensions for their Joomla site. And I was an administrator on the JED, so it was my role at that time to approve, well, not necessarily approve extensions, but go through the process to help extensions get approved. But the Joomla forum was my pet love at one stage, and I did invest a lot of time into it. It made me sleep well at night, knowing that I was giving back to the community. And sometimes it's very rewarding, and other times you wonder why you do it. But certainly we need more people giving back to the project whenever they can.
Your business is Red Source Media. Can you describe what your business does and where you're heading?
Red Source Media is how I make money and how I feed my family. So we build websites. We build Joomla-based websites. We try and build websites where we're not only making the code redundant, we're also trying to make ourselves as web builders redundant. So we have a real philosophy about trying to build websites that once we hand them over to the client, they should be able to do a lot all by themselves without, and it goes far beyond just simply using the Joomla CMS. It goes way beyond that. It's from structure and everything else. I'm also really lucky to work with some awesome designers where I'm able to collaborate my talents, some of my other colleagues' talents, along with great designs. I'm no designer, I can design a little bit, but it's awesome being able to collaborate with designers because it ends up with the best result for the client. And then our other business is J-Infinity, which is what we've recently started. Myself and my colleague Anton, we started J-Infinity because we were Anton's an awesome coder, and we've been making our own extensions for our own sites for a little while. Sometimes they're modifications of existing ideas that we thought needed a bit of enhancement, and so we started making extensions that we wish we could have, that we could use, and that's what we've done. And most of our extensions are productivity based. They're not necessarily flashy, hey, look at me, I've got a lovely rotating banner or whatever. They're more so about productivity and making sites more modular, and so that when a client enters an article, they don't have to worry about styling and worrying about where things go. It's all done for them. So JInfinity, we've wrapped up 6 good, what I think is great extensions in a short amount of time, and you know, we intend to have more.
You've produced a lot of websites in your time. Can you tell us about 1 or 2 sites that you're really proud of?
Sure, I've been really blessed in having some great clients over the times, and sometimes I think some of the best sites I've done are not necessarily the ones that would be showstoppers. They're just really functional sites that have solved the problem for the client, and the client's able to produce their own content. And sometimes that's the most satisfying for me. You know, it doesn't have to be that site with the really big budget or whatever. But probably one of my most satisfying sites in recent times, I got the opportunity to work with a really high-end designer, really high-end advertising agency, and collaborate with them on a site for Giant bicycles. It was going to be, at the time, coincide with a TV advertising campaign, so it was the whole shebang, and I was building and I came to them with the idea that the whole philosophy around it was a competition, and I said, well, while we're getting people to enter, why not build them a community at the same time? And they ummed and ahed, and eventually we went in, and I knew in the back of my head that I could use Joomla Social, and I knew that I could make Joomla Social do precisely what they wanted it to do. So that's the whole open source. And just a really quick thing on that, it was only probably 12 months prior to that I had a face-to-face conversation with Azrul from who is the owner of Joomla Social, and I guess I kind of had a little dig at him for why his component at the time wasn't open source, and then it since became open source, and it was just great that I could use that. And anyway, so it's still around. It's called Giant Real Riders, and it's a community for people that like the brand of Giant bicycles. And whilst it's mainly Joomla Social from the community aspect, it's also a great blog website that they're able to deliver really good content with minimal input from the content creators. No input from me. That the site runs itself. When it first went live, as I said, it coincided with a TV ad campaign, so it was huge, and it was a great learning tool as well, or lesson I should say, on how to handle large scale sites, because it was a large scale site. We were having 80,000 visitors in the first month type of thing, so it was a great big site, and so that's for sure one that I'm very proud of. And another one that I'm quite proud of, as I said, sometimes they're not the biggest and best websites, but I have a good profile in the cycling industry. My wife's a cyclist, and I love nothing better than creating good, solid blog sites for professional cyclists so that they can convey their story to their fans. One that comes to mind is a rider by the name of Josh Carlson. He's a professional mountain biker, and if you went to his site, joshcarlson.com.au, it looks good, it conveys a message, but most importantly, he's able to add content. He's not a high-tech person, he's a low-skilled person in terms of computer tech, but he's able to get his message out there. It's formatted well every time for him. He doesn't have to do anything to do that. So from my point of view, even though it's not an all-singing, all-dancing website, it does its job, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction. When I look at his site and I see that he's adding 2 or 3 blog posts a month, and they look great, and he hasn't had to do anything, I'm happy.
I want to ask you about, what shall I call it, client management. It's something that you consider to be particularly important, to make life easy for your client by reducing the amount of access they have to the back end of Joomla, or the back end of Joomla at all. Tell us a bit about that.
So my philosophy with client management is I often try to make not only my code redundant, but also myself redundant. So what I mean by that is, if I've done my job properly, the client should be able to come to the website with minimal understanding, minimal instruction, and logically know how to put an article up. And that's the way I'll try and build a site. I'd like to think we do that pretty well. Joomla allows us, gives us a great base on how to do that, and there's a few other things that we do to try and make that a little easier. But the concept of that, a client should have to understand which part of the back end they should or shouldn't go into, it makes no sense to me. I don't understand why we'd ever want to encumber a client with that type of knowledge. Just give them the website, let them log in somewhere, and then it should be obvious. The same way when we first all joined Facebook, there was no instructions. We just did it. That's the way I'd like to think that I build websites.
Now, in the conference JDM 2013, there are some presenters that you particularly admire. Can you tell us about them?
One of the reasons I'm really excited about Joomla Day Melbourne 2013 is the chance for me to meet some of my heroes. I really admire a lot of the speakers, but a few in particular. Brian Tiemann from the UK is, when I watched his Secrets of Joomla video, Hidden Secrets of Joomla, that changed. There was a lot of things in there that confirmed what I was already doing, but it also changed the way I built websites. So he has changed. He has had a direct impact on me and my clients through his teachings and his understanding of Joomla. Peter Van Westen from the Netherlands, of No Number fame, his extensions, the way he builds it, again, a lot of his extensions are not about glitz and glamour. They're about functionality, and I literally could not build sites without his extensions. So the chance to meet him, he's bringing on new features to his extensions. He's already fantastic extensions all the time. So the chance to meet him face to face, I've had the pleasure of speaking with him a lot over the years, but meeting him face to face is going to be great. Anthony Olsen, of course, another Melbourne person here from Joomla Bamboo. His understanding of templating, his understanding also of, again, functionality extensions. I seem to be having a bit of a thread there, or a theme, but some of his new extensions, Zen Tools, we've just had the great chance to actually collaborate with Anthony, where we've combined some of our functions of our JInfinity blog tools and custom field tools into his Zen Tools module, which is really exciting. It's also the benefit of one of the examples of open source. So I always love hearing him talk. And Patrick Jackson, and Patrick's just such a font of knowledge with anything to do with client interaction and site management and SEO and the whole bit. So it's a great lineup. I'm looking forward to being part of it.
And we wouldn't want to forget that Norm himself is going to be speaking and doing a workshop. Your presentation, what will you be covering in that?
The presentation I'll be doing in Joomla Day Melbourne 2013 is called Blogging for Joomla 3.0, and it will show you my method, or the way I'd like to think is a great method of not only blogging but also from a client perspective. So how to set up a Joomla site for the best practice for the client, so the client can blog really easily. Also a few little tricks that I've come across to help present a Joomla site in a better blog format. My workshop is going to be about me showing you, the participant, what I consider the correct way to go about building a Joomla site. I think there are less than perfect ways and more perfect ways to go about building a Joomla site. I'm often brought on to Joomla sites to fix them from time to time, and there's a lot of things that I can see that, in my opinion, Joomla administrators make fundamental mistakes when they go about making a Joomla site. So I'd like to think that my workshop will equip someone with a whole bunch of tools on how to go about building a Joomla site from the ground up. It's not just code, it's just fundamental things to give you a much better understanding of what to do to build a Joomla site in the correct way.
So, for people who are just coming into Joomla, what are one or two of the golden rules that you would be advising them?
The way I can answer that question, what's the golden rules? when you're coming into Joomla. I'd actually like to flip it over and say, what's the golden rules when you're coming into web design? Because I always like to say as well, Joomla is just a tool, right? Joomla is just a tool. It's an awesome tool, and I love it, but it's just a tool to get us to build a website. So the golden rules I would like to give people out there is very simple. Choose good quality hosting. It's as simple as that. The amount of compromises I've seen from poor quality hosting, from people trying to cut corners and get that $6 a month hosting, it's, in my opinion, hosting's so cheap anyway, you may as well get good hosting. The other golden rule is to back up. I don't know how many times backups have saved my skin, where I've gone about doing a simple install or a simple change or whatever it is, and I've taken a backup and something's gone wrong. It could be something as simple as, I don't know, the power goes out on your computer, or what, I don't know, whatever it is. But take backups. And at the footer of my signature on the Joomla forums, those people that have seen it may have known, it says rule 1 is backup, rule 2 refer to rule 1. So backup, backup, and backup.
Norm, you're a pillar of the Australian Joomla community, a wise man indeed. You'll be speaking and running a workshop at Joomla Day Melbourne 2013. Thanks for talking to me.
Just so excited to be part of it. Thanks.